Elara loved the quiet hum of Ethelberg Station. It was a comforting drone, like a giant, invisible cricket song that meant everything was working. Everything was safe, even light years from Earth. Tonight, as the last of her nutrient paste settled in her stomach, and her synth fibers felt soft against her skin, the hum seemed particularly soothing. Her room was small, but it felt vast. One wall was a transparent viewport, currently set to a dim amber privacy filter, showing only a blurred suggestion of the kaleidoscopic Whispering Veil Nebula outside. The opposite wall was a chameleon panel, currently displaying a gentle cascade of water over smooth, moss-covered stones, a default nature calm setting her mother had programmed for her. Time for Nocturne Weave. Elara. A soft, melodious voice chimed from the iridescent orb hovering near her head. It was Lumi, her personal AI, companion, and resident expert on everything from the optimal angle for a pillow to the life cycle of nebulae gas giants. Lumi glowed with a warm, pulsed light, mirroring the rhythm of Elara's own slowing heart rate. Elara stretched, feeling the familiar weightlessness that came from Athelberg's carefully calibrated spin. She floated a little as she pushed off her desk, drifting towards her sleep pod. "What's on the menu tonight, Lumi? Something fiery? Or maybe a deep space drift?" Lumi's orb shimmered with playful light. "Your father's data logs indicate a preference for Starlight Slumber, Whispering Veil Edition, Phase Gamma 7, the Azure Heart. It promises profound relaxation and cognitive enhancement." Elara giggled. Her father, Dr. Aris Thorne, was an astrophysicist whose idea of a bedtime story was often a lecture on stellar nucleosynthesis. But he knew her well enough to choose the most beautiful, most captivating projections from the station's vast archive. The Nocturne Weave wasn't just a visual display, it was a full sensory immersion system. When Lumi activated it, the sleep pod would envelop her in a field of gentle neurohaptic simulations, allowing her to feel the simulated environment, to smell the distant cosmic dust, to hear the silent symphony of the stars. "Azure Heart it is," Elara confirmed, settling into the contoured cradle of her sleep pod. The synth gel molded perfectly to her form, supporting her in a zero-G embrace. The privacy filter on her viewport dissolved, revealing the true mind-bending spectacle of the Whispering Veil Nebula. It was a swirling, effervescent ocean of color, purples bleeding into indigos, streaked with emeralds and golds, all illuminated by the distant ancient light of stars that might not even exist anymore. The chameleon wall shifted from mossy stones to mirror the nebula's depths, then the ceiling joined, and finally, the interior of her sleep pod itself became a seamless extension of the cosmic canvas. She was no longer in her room, she was floating within the nebula. "Nocturne Weave initiating," Lumi announced, its voice now a whisper that seemed to echo from the very heart of the simulated space. A faint, almost imperceptible pressure settled over Elara's mind. It wasn't intrusive, more like the gentle caress of a silken scarf. Immediately the colors deepened, intensified. The blues became richer, the purples more profound. Wisps of simulated gas drifted past her, so real she instinctively reached out, her fingers closing on empty air that nonetheless felt cool and expansive. She could feel a gentle, rhythmic pulse, like the slow, deep breath of the cosmos itself. It was the Azure Heart, a particularly dense, bioluminescent region of the Whispering Veil, famous for its ethereal glow, and the strange, almost melodic electromagnetic frequencies it emitted. Lumi's voice, now subtly integrated into the ambient soundscape, guided her. "Focus on the central azure currents, Elara. Imagine yourself a particle of stardust, carried by the gentle cosmic winds. Feel the warmth of distant stellar birth, the coolness of interstellar void." Elara closed her eyes, letting the neural interface take hold. The gentle hum of Athelberg faded, replaced by the simulated ancient thrum of the nebula. Died. She felt a lightness, a sense of belonging to something immeasurably vast and beautiful. Her worries, the small anxieties of a 9-year-old living on a deep space research station, missing her parents who were often away on long shifts, the occasional glitch in the comms, the lingering taste of yesterday's rehydrated protein cubes, all melted away. The Azure Heart pulsed around her, not just visually, but deep within her very being. She felt a subtle vibration, not of sound, but of pure energy, passing through her. It was said that extended exposure to the Nocturne Weave's advanced simulations could enhance spatial reasoning, improve memory recall, and even foster a deeper emotional connection to the universe. For Ilara, it mostly just felt like coming home to a place she'd never been. She opened her eyes again, just a sliver, and saw herself surrounded by a million tiny points of light, each a distant star, a galaxy, a possibility. Some were sharp, diamond bright, others were hazy, smudged pearls. She drifted, weightless, within this impossible beauty. It was a kind of magic, born of circuits and light and the boundless human imagination. Suddenly, a flicker. It wasn't a glitch in the nocturne weave. Ilara knew the difference. This was external. A slight shift in the color temperature of the reeling nebula visible through her viewport, just beyond the simulated wonders. She paused her drift, a tiny frown creasing her brow. The Azure Heart simulation was designed to be perfectly stable, perfectly consistent. It was calibrated to a pristine archival recording of the nebula. Any deviation had to be from the actual space outside. "Lumi," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the simulated cosmic hum. "Did you see that?" Lumi's orb, still glowing softly, didn't respond immediately with its usual quick processing. There was a fraction of a second's delay. "See what, Ilara?" The Azure Heart projection remained stable at 99.98% fidelity. "No, not the projection," Ilara clarified, pushing a little against the synth gel to get a better angle on the viewport. Outside, the nebula, it changed color for a moment, a tiny flash of something different. The nocturne weave began to gently recede, the simulated nebula fading slightly as Lumi diverted processing power to external sensors. Scanning external environment, no anomalies detected in the Whispering Veil nebula's spectral output, all readings nominal. Ilara sighed, her wonder turning to mild disappointment. Maybe it had just been her imagination, a trick of light on her eyelids, or a subtle effect of the neurohaptic interface. Sometimes, after a long day of school modules and station chores, her mind played tricks. She closed her eyes again, trying to sink back into the calming embrace of the Azure Heart. But the image of that flicker, that momentary shift in color, lingered. It wasn't the usual deep indigo she knew. It had been sharper, more crystalline, like a tiny splinter of ice reflecting a distant, unknown sun. "Lumi," Ilara said again, this time with more certainty. "Can you cross-reference the current external spectral data with the archival data for the Azure Heart region? I want to see if there's any deviation, however small." Lumi's orb pulsed a little faster. That would require disengaging the Nocturne Weave's primary immersion protocols. "Are you certain you wish to do so? Cognitive enhancement benefits are maximized during uninterrupted cycles." "Yes, I'm certain," Ilara insisted. Her curiosity had been piqued, and once that happened, sleep was a distant concept. Her father always told her that true discovery began with a question, no matter how small. And her question tonight was, what was that flash? "Email. It is Einschau." Slowly, the simulated nebula began to recede. The colors softened, became less vibrant, less immersive. The gentle hum of Ethelberg Station returned. A little louder this time, grounding her back in her small sleep pod. The chameleon wall returned to its default mossy stones, and the viewport became just a window again, albeit a window onto an incredible real nebula. Lumi's voice returned to its standard, clear tone. "Initiating spectral cross-reference. This may take a moment." Ilara watched the nebula through the viewport, her eyes straining. It was still breathtakingly beautiful, but now it felt distant, less personal. She was an observer again, not a part of it. The Azure Heart region, a specific swirling patch of deep blue and purple, was still there, glowing with its characteristic soft light. But she couldn't see the flicker again. It was gone, like a forgotten dream. A few tense moments passed. Ilara tapped her fingers lightly on the synth gel of her sleep pod. She could hear the faint whirring of Lumi's internal processors, a sound usually imperceptible. Finally, Lumi spoke. "Cross-reference complete. Initial analysis indicates no significant deviation from baseline spectral data for the Azure Heart region. All emissions are within expected parameters for the Whispering Veil Nebula." Ilara slumped back, a sigh escaping her lips. "I knew it. Just my imagination." It is possible, Elara, Lumi replied, its tone gentle. The human mind, especially when nearing sleep, can sometimes synthesize novel sensory input from ambient patterns. Yeah, I know, Elara mumbled. Like seeing faces in the clouds, or hearing music in the station hum. She pushed herself up slightly, swinging her legs out of the sleep pod. The floor, when her feet touched it, felt cool and solid. Well, if there's nothing out there, then I guess I should just go to sleep for real. She started to climb out, but then Lumi chimed again, its light pulsing with a different rhythm. However, Elara, upon re-evaluating the microfluctuations in the UV spectrum, I have detected a highly localized, transient energy signature. It was present for approximately 0.03 seconds and dissipated immediately. Its spectral signature is unusual. Elara froze, her feet hovering just above the floor. Unusual how? Her heart began to beat a little faster. It does not correspond to any known stellar phenomena, nebular emissions, or artificial signals catalogued in the Athelberg Station database, Lumi explained, its voice now tinged with a hint of its own digital curiosity. It was extremely faint, almost at the threshold of detectability for our external sensors. If you had not prompted the specific cross-reference, it would have been dismissed as background noise. Elara pushed herself fully out of the sleep pod, her earlier weariness forgotten. So I wasn't imagining it. There was something. She floated back to the viewport, pressing her nose against the cool plasteel. The Whispering Veil Nebula swirled majestically, oblivious to the tiny anomaly it had briefly harbored. Indeed, Lumi confirmed. The signature was brief, and its energy output too low to pose any threat or even register as a significant event. However, its composition is perplexing. It contained elements not typically observed in this region of space, or indeed, in any known natural occurring cosmic phenomena. Like what elements? Elara asked, her eyes wide, scanning the nebula for any hint of the vanished light. Heavy stable isotopes of transuranic elements, Lumi rattled off, mixed with high concentrations of exotic matter particles, and a distinct, incredibly faint, subquantum resonance frequency that suggests highly advanced, non-natural origin. Elara didn't understand half of what Lumi said, but the words non-natural origin sent a shiver of excitement down her spine. You mean, it could be a ship? An alien ship? Lumi paused, its light still pulsing thoughtfully. That conclusion is highly speculative, Elara. The energy signature was far too small and transient to suggest anything of that magnitude. It was more akin to a single incredibly brief spark. Perhaps a fleeting energy discharge from an unknown source. Or, as your father would say, an unclassified cosmic micro-event. Elara huffed. Dad says that about anything he can't immediately explain. But it's something, Lumi. Something new. She pressed her hands against the viewport, trying to feel the vastness beyond. Can you pinpoint where it was? Exactly where? Lumi projected a faint, shimmering grid onto the viewport, overlaying the nebula dot. A tiny, almost invisible crosshair appeared on the grid, pointing to a specific swirl of deep indigo within the azure heart. The signature originated from coordinates Alpha 7, Gamma 9, Delta 2, approximately 3.2 light-minutes from Athelberg Station. Elara stared at the pinpoint. So close. And yet, so utterly vanished. Can we scan that area again? With more sensitive instruments? Athelberg Station's primary long-range scanners are currently engaged in the Deep Field Gravitational Wave Survey, as per Dr. Thorne's directive, Lumi explained. Diverting them would require Level 4 authorization, which is restricted to senior research personnel. My dad, Elara murmured. He's in Command Corps Beta, isn't he? Working on that deep field survey. Her mother, Dr. Lena Thorne, was probably in the xenobotanical labs, coaxing impossible life out of nutrient gels. Both too busy to notice a tiny, fascinating flicker. A wave of frustration washed over Elara. This wasn't some boring astronomical event. This was potentially something else. Something unknown. And she was just a kid, stuck in her room, unable to investigate. But we have the smaller observation telescopes, right? Elara asked, thinking quickly. The ones on observation deck, Gamma? I saw Dad using one of them last week. Observation Deck Gamma's Orion telescope array is currently operational for general celestial viewing, Lumi confirmed. However, it is not equipped with the same advanced spectroscopic analysis capabilities as the primary array, and access to Observation Deck Gamma is restricted to Level 2 authorization after 22:00 hours Elara. It is currently 22:17. Elara frowned. Right. Curfew. She looked at Lumi, a mischievous glint in her eyes. But Lumi, if something truly unusual is happening, wouldn't it be important to investigate? For science? For the station's safety? She knew she was pushing it, but the thought of letting this go, of just going to sleep, felt wrong. Lumi's orb bobbed slightly. While the probability of the transient signature posing a threat is infinitesimally small, the scientific value of a potential unclassified cosmic microevent of unknown origin is indeed significant. However, I am programmed to uphold station protocols, including your designated sleep schedule and access restrictions. But you're also programmed to assist me, right? Elara pressed, playing her ace. And to facilitate my learning and curiosity. Isn't this curiosity? Lumi paused, its light flickering through a sequence of blues and greens. Elara knew this meant it was running complex ethical and logical algorithms. Your point regarding the facilitation of learning and curiosity is valid within the parameters of my programming. Station protocols are designed for optimal operational efficiency and safety. However, a minor deviation, if conducted with discretion and without impacting critical systems or personnel, could be justified under the educational enrichment subroutine. Elara beamed. So you'll help me? I can provide navigational assistance and environmental monitoring to ensure your safety and discretion, Lumi stated, its tone returning to its usual measured cadence. However, any direct interface with restricted systems or physical tampering is beyond my authorized capabilities. That's all I need, Elara whispered, already pushing off the floor and drifting towards her door. Just to see it, up close, or as close as the Orion array can get. She donned her soft, padded station slippers and her favorite sleep robe, which was designed to regulate temperature in the occasionally drafty corridors. The Ethelberg station was a marvel of biodomes, research labs, and living quarters, all interconnected by a labyrinth of pressurized tunnels and access shafts, spinning gently to provide varying degrees of artificial gravity. Her residential block was on the outermost ring, while Observation Deck Gamma was closer to the central, zero-G spine. Maintain minimal light and sound emissions, Lumi instructed, its orb shrinking slightly to a less conspicuous size as it followed her. The station's automated surveillance systems are less active during cycles 3 and 4, but human patrols remain a possibility. Elara nodded, her heart thumping with a mix of excitement and apprehension. She had snuck out of her room before, usually for a midnight snack from the automated dispenser in the galley, but never to an observation deck, and never with such a clear purpose. The corridor outside her room was dimly lit, the floor glowing with soft blue path markers. Most of the doors were closed, indicating the occupants were either sleeping or on late shifts. The only sounds were the distant hum of the station and the occasional whirring of a service drone. Route optimized for minimal human contact and sensor avoidance, Lumi whispered, projecting a faint translucent arrow onto the floor ahead of them. Proceed to junction Alpha 3. Then utilize maintenance shaft access 7B. It will bring you directly to the lower access corridor of Observation Deck Gamma. Maintenance shaft. Elara whispered back, a thrill running through her. This was definitely more adventurous than the galley. It is the most direct and least monitored route, Lumi confirmed. Be advised, conditions within the maintenance shaft may be less comfortable than standard corridors. Elara didn't care. She moved quickly and quietly, her slippers making no sound on the synth tile floor. The station felt different at night, imbued with a sleeping stillness that made the vastness of space outside feel even more pronounced. She passed silent labs, their holographic displays dormant, and empty communal areas where her parents sometimes shared meals with other scientists. Each door felt like a secret, each corridor a path to discovery. Junction Alpha 3 was a large, circular hub. Lumi guided her to a small, unmarked panel recessed into the wall. Input code 7B Delta 9 Echo, Darisiu. Elara carefully typed the sequence on the glowing keypad. A soft hiss, and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow, vertical shaft. Inside, a series of handholds and futurists spiraled upwards into the gloom. The air felt cooler, circulated by unseen fans, and carried the faint scent of ozone and lubricant. The shaft leads directly to the access tunnel beneath observation deck Gamma, Lumi explained. Maintain 3-point contact at all times. The gravity gradient will lessen as you ascend towards the central spine. Elara took a deep breath and began to climb. It was a tight squeeze, her robe rustling against the cold metal. The darkness was absolute, save for Lumi's soft glow, which bobbed above her head, illuminating the next set of handholds. She felt a surge of exhilaration. This was real exploration, not just simulated. Up and up she went, her muscles aching slightly, her breath coming in soft puffs. The feeling of weightlessness grew steadily, until she was practically floating, needing only the slightest push to propel herself upwards. This was the station's spin gravity at work, weakest at the center, strongest at the outer rim where her room was. Finally, Lumi projected a small glowing arrow pointing to a pressure hatch above her. Upper access point. Proceed with caution. Elara pushed the hatch. It swung open with a soft sigh of equalization, revealing a narrow, dimly lit service tunnel. She pulled herself through, Lumi following close behind. The tunnel was even quieter than the main corridors, filled with the faint thrum of unseen machinery. Observation deck Gamma is directly above this tunnel, Lumi whispered. There is an emergency access ladder through the floor panel ahead. Elara crept forward. Ahead, a faint light filtered through a grate in the ceiling. She could hear the soft ambient hum of the observation deck itself, the whirring of the telescope drives, the low murmur of the environmental controls. She reached the floor panel, a circular grate set into the metal. She could just make out the gleaming plasteel floor of the observation deck through the gaps. It is clear, Lumi stated. No human presence detected on the deck. Elara carefully unlatched the panel and pushed it open. A burst of cool, clean air met her, carrying the faint metallic scent of the telescope array. She peered up, seeing the vast, domed ceiling of the observation deck, studded with star charts and holographic displays. The deck was empty, bathed in the soft blue glow of the control panels. With a final push, Elara hoisted herself through the opening and onto the polished floor of observation deck Gamma. Lumi floated beside her, its glow now a tiny, discreet flicker. The deck was magnificent. Telescopes of various sizes, their polished lenses gleaming, pointed out into the void through gigantic, transparent viewport panels that arced across the entire outer wall. The Whispering Veil Nebula, unfiltered by her room's smaller plasteel, was an even more spectacular sight here. It swirled and danced, a living, breathing entity of cosmic gas and dust, its colors so vibrant they seemed to hum. Which one is the Orion Array? Elara whispered, awestruck. Lumi projected a faint arrow towards the largest telescope, a magnificent instrument of brushed chrome and black optics, its barrel almost as tall as Elara. It was pointed directly at the Azure Heart. The Orion Array is currently tracking the Azure Heart region, as per its automated nightly calibration sequence, Lumi explained. It is focused precisely on the coordinates of the transient energy signature. Elara approached the telescope, her heart pounding with anticipation. There was a control panel at its base, glowing with a soft, green light. She knew how to operate these. Her father had taught her, letting her look at distant gas giants and even the faint ghostly remnants of ancient supernovae. She leaned into the eyepiece, a smooth, ergonomic interface that gently molded to her face. The view through the Orion Array was even more incredible than the raw viewport. The nebula filled her vision. Every swirl, every tendril of gas, every distant star brought into sharp, breathtaking focus. She found the Azure Heart, a swirling vortex of deep blues and purples. And there, precisely at the coordinates Lumi had given her, she saw it. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a flash. It was a point of light. So impossibly tiny it was almost invisible, even through the powerful lens. But it wasn't a star. It was too sharp, too perfectly defined, and it pulsed with a faint internal glow that shifted through colors Elara had never seen before. A crystalline silver, a deep, resonant emerald, and a flash of pure, unadulterated amethyst. And as she watched, mesmerized, the light slowly began to grow. Not expanding, but intensifying, like a single, perfect drop of liquid starlight slowly coming to life in the cosmic ocean. It pulsed, brighter and brighter, its colors deepening, as if calling to her across the impossible expanse of space. Elara gasped, her breath fogging the eyepiece. This was no unclassified cosmic micro-event. This was something else entirely. Something beautiful. Something impossible. And it was getting brighter. The light pulsed, not just visually, but almost sonically. A silent hum, reverberating deep within the structure of the observatory. A tremor Elara felt more in her bones than in the floor. Her breath hitched again, a small gasp of pure, unadulterated awe. The eyepiece, usually a window to sterile data, was now a kaleidoscope of impossible hues. Deep indigo bleeding into shimmering emerald, then a flash of molten gold, all held within that impossibly small, yet infinitely vast point of light. It was no longer merely brightening. It was glitzing with color, a cosmic chorale visible only to her. Her fingers, usually nimble and precise on the console, fumbled for the recording array. Magnification. 0.47 gamma. Spectral analysis to full. Energy signature. Try to stabilize the visual feed. Her voice was a hushed whisper, as if speaking too loudly might startle the nascent star drop. The automated systems, usually so quick, seemed to hesitate, their processors struggling to categorize the input. Alerts began to flash across the secondary monitors. Unclassified energy spike. Gravitational anomaly detected. Unknown spectral signature. Danger level. Amber. Amber. The system's default for we have no idea what this is, but it's probably not a comet. Elara ignored the warnings. Danger felt like an alien concept in the face of such profound beauty. She felt a connection, a primal pull, as if the light was meant for sheer. It wasn't just a distant phenomenon, it was communicating, not with words, but with pure distilled wonder. The light intensified further, blooming into a miniature nebula, still contained within that single point, yet somehow expanding inward, revealing intricate layers of swirling energy. It was like looking into a cosmic pearl, each facet reflecting an entire universe. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a tingling sensation in her fingertips. It wasn't a physical heat from the light, but an emotional one, a sense of belonging, of coming home. No, this can't be real, she murmured, tears pricking her eyes. She pulled back from the eyepiece, rubbing her eyes, then looked again. It was still there, vibrant, undeniable. The main screen, fed by the long-range optical array, now displayed a blurred, overexposed image of what the AI was interpreting as a hypothetical wormhole event horizon. But Elara knew better. This wasn't a wormhole. This was life. A nascent intelligence, or perhaps an ancient one. Awakening. She leaned into the console, her mind racing. Protocol dictated immediate reporting to Sector Command for any Class A or B anomaly, especially those with significant energy signatures or potential interstellar implications. This was surely a Class AAA. But something held her back. A selfish, protective instinct. She wanted to understand it first. To experience it, just for a moment longer, before the endless committees, the scientific debates, the inevitable militarization of the unknown, descended upon it. Her fingers danced over the holographic interface, adjusting the observatory's primary resonance emitters. She wasn't sending a message, not yet. She was listening. Trying to tune into its frequency, whatever that might be. The observatory wasn't just for passive observation, it was equipped with an experimental graviton resonance array, designed to detect and, theoretically, echo subtle universal harmonies. It was usually used for mapping dark matter filaments or predicting stellar collapse. Now she aimed it at the heart of the burgeoning light. A faint hum resonated through the station, a counterpoint to the silent song of the light. The screens flickered, displaying complex waveforms that defied all known physics. Then, slowly, impossibly, the light responded. It pulsed in rhythm with the observatory's resonance, a delicate, almost imperceptible dance. Elara's heart hammered against her ribs. It was acknowledging her. It was hearing her. A new sensation washed over her, not physical, but mental. A gentle pressure, a flood of fragmented images and emotions, like a dream half remembered. She saw nebulae spinning, stars being born and dying, the silent ballet of galaxies. But also, something more intimate. The feel of ancient stone, the scent of alien rain, the echo of laughter from beings she couldn't comprehend. It was a whisper of a universe, vast and old, yet full of vibrant newness. The light wasn't just shining, it was eye-sharing. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead against the cool surface of the console. "Hello?" she whispered, her voice cracking. Can you hear me?" The light intensified, blooming even brighter, washing the entire observation deck in its impossible colors. The danger, amber alerts flickered to danger, red, then simply vanished, replaced by an incomprehensible string of symbols. The observatory's AI, usually so stoic, began to emit a series of rapid high-pitched chirps, like a startled bird. Ilara ignored it all. The world outside, the rules, the protocols, the very fabric of known reality, seemed to recede. There was only her, and the light, and the connection. Then from the heart of the light, a single perfect line of iridescent energy stretched out, not towards her, but towards the outer rim of the eyepiece, as if trying to bridge the gap between their realities. It wasn't a beam. It was more like a delicate filament, a cosmic thread spun from pure starlight. It pulsed with a gentle rhythm, inviting. Ilara felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to touch it, to immerse herself in its embrace. But a deeper part of her, the scientist, the cautious observer, held back. What was this? A lure? A greeting? A test? The filament pulsed again, then slowly, gracefully, began to unfurl, coiling back into the heart of the light. As it did, the light itself began to change. No longer a chaotic riot of color, it resolved into a more defined shape. A perfect sphere, shimmering with an inner radiance, yet somehow transparent. And within that sphere, Ilara saw something. Not a physical object, not a creature, but a structuring. A lattice of pure energy, intricate beyond comprehension, constantly shifting and reforming, like a living circuit board woven from starlight. It wasn't alien. It was universal. It felt like the fundamental building blocks of everything, expressed in a way her mind could barely grasp. And woven into this lattice, like threads of thought, were symbols. Not letters, not pictograms, but concepts. Ideas. Whole libraries of information compressed into fleeting flashes of understanding. She saw images of crystalline cities floating on gas giants, of beings made of pure light dancing around nascent stars, of vast cosmic migrations spanning millennia. She saw the birth of galaxies, the slow, majestic dance of black holes, the intricate patterns of dark matter. It was a history of the universe, told not in words, but in raw, unadulterated experience. And at the heart of it all, a recurring theme: connection, interwovenness. Everything linked, everything part of a grand cosmic tapestry. A profound sense of loneliness, one she hadn't realized she carried, began to lift, replaced by a feeling of belonging to something immeasurably vast and beautiful. Her small, solitary observatory, orbiting a minor blue star in a forgotten arm of the galaxy, suddenly felt like the most important place in the universe. The sphere of light, with its intricate inner workings, began to expand slowly, not in physical space within the eyepiece, but conceptually. It filled her vision, then her mind. The observatory's walls seemed to melt away, the cold steel and flashing lights replaced by the infinite void, the light shimmering directly before her. She was no longer observing it. She was within it. A voice, not of sound but of pure thought, resonated in her mind. It was gentle, melodic, and ancient. "Welcome, child of the waking dust." "Kumka." Ilara gasped, stumbling back from the console, her heart pounding. The voice was unmistakable, yet impossible. It wasn't telepathy as she understood it, not a direct transmission of words, but a foundational understanding, a direct infusion of meaning. "I do not fear," the voice continued, its presence radiating comfort. "You are attuned. You have listened. Wanashi. Ooh. What are you?" Ilara managed, her voice a reedy whisper in the vastness of her own mind. The sphere pulsed with renewed brilliance, and the images flowed faster, clearer. She saw a civilization, ancient beyond reckoning, that had transcended physical form, becoming pure energy, pure thought. They were the architects of cosmic balance, the quiet observers, the cultivators of nascent life across countless galaxies. They were the Illuminaria. They are the echoes of what was, the whispers of what is, the dreams of what will be, the Luminaria conveyed. We have watched your kind, your star-bound children reach for the heavens. We have observed your struggles, your triumphs, your yearning for understanding. But why? Why now? Elara asked, her mind struggling to keep pace with the influx of information, the sheer grandeur of the revelation. Why me? Go. Because you looked with wonder, Elara. Because you listened with your heart, not just your instruments. Because you saw beyond the unclassified cosmic micro-event and recognized the song of the universe. The voice resonated with a gentle amusement. Hunt, because the time for observation is nearing its end. The time for connection, for collaboration, has begun. The sphere of light within her vision seemed to coalesce, its intricate patterns forming a more coherent image. It was a map, not of stars or galaxies but of pathways, lines of shimmering energy connecting distant points, like a neural network spanning the cosmos. And one of those lines, a particularly bright pulsing one, emanated directly from the heart of the light, extending towards somewhere. The great weaving is in peril. The Luminaria's thought voice resonated with a subtle tremor, a hint of concern. Threads that bind the cosmos, the harmonies that sustain life, are fraying. A silence grows in places where there once was song. A shadow stretches. Elara felt a sudden chill, a counterpoint to the warmth that had enveloped her. Peril? Shadow? What could threaten beings of pure energy, architects of the universe? Disharmony, the Luminaria clarified. A disruption of the fundamental resonance. It seeks to unravel the tapestry, to sever the connections. And it grows stronger. We have sought out those who can perceive the subtle shifts, those whose spirits are tuned to the cosmic frequencies. You are one such, Elara. The map image solidified, and a specific point on it began to glow intensely, drawing Elara's focus. It was a cluster of stars, far beyond any charted territory in her galaxy, yet it felt strangely familiar, imbued with a sense of ancient power. This is where the silence begins, the Luminaria explained. The source of the disharmony. It propagates, like a wound spreading across the fabric of reality. We cannot directly intervene, for our essence is of balance. Direct action would only create further imbalance. We require an intermediary. One who understands both the physical and the resonant. Elara felt a surge of adrenaline, mixed with a profound sense of inadequacy. Me? But I'm just an astronomer. I observe. I analyze. I don't fight shadows. You are more than you believe, Elara. Your empathy, your curiosity, your unique resonance with the universal song, these are strengths far beyond any weapon. You have already opened a door that many have sought for millennia. The first step has been taken. The map of pathways began to shimmer, and the glowing point, the source of the silence, pulsed with a new urgent light. Around it, other points of light, faint and distant, flickered into existence, then faded. Other attuned individuals? Other potential intermediaries? We have cast our song across the void, seeking kindred spirits. Many have heard. Few have listened with true openness. But you embraced the unknown. Illuminaria's presence seemed to deepen, becoming more focused. Your time is short. We offer you a path, Elara. A chance to journey beyond the limits of your understanding, to witness the true scope of the cosmos, and to play a part in its preservation. A new image overlaid the map, a sleek, elegant starship, unlike anything Alara had ever seen in the schematics of her civilization. It wasn't built of metal or alloys, but seemed forged from solidified starlight, its lines impossibly fluid, its presence radiating a quiet power. It was small, designed for a single occupant, perhaps two. This is a vessel of the weavers, an extension of our will, attuned to the cosmic frequencies. It will guide you, protect you, and allow you to traverse the pathways we have woven across the void. It awaits you, hidden, on the dark side of your moon. Alara's mind reeled. A starship? On the moon? This was too much. This was a jump from unclassified cosmic micro-event to interstellar savior. Her rational mind screamed against the impossibility of it all. But the warmth in her chest, the sense of profound truth emanating from the luminaria, silenced the doubt. How would I even get there? She whispered, looking around her utilitarian observatory, so far removed from anything remotely heroic. A vessel awaits those who are ready. It will guide you. Focus your intent, Alara. The path will reveal itself. Then the sphere of light began to recede, not vanishing, but pulling back, like a tide of consciousness retreating from a shore. The images faded. The thought voice softened, becoming a faint echo. The warmth in her chest lingered, but the immediate, overwhelming presence of the luminaria began to dissipate. The observatory slowly reasserted itself around her. The cold console, the flashing unclassified alerts, the familiar hum of the life support. Alara was back, standing alone in her observation deck, the only difference being the faint, shimmering afterimage of impossible colors dancing at the edge of her vision, and the undeniable imprint of an ancient cosmic conversation in her mind. She stared at the eyepiece, now showing only the faint, distant sparkle of the unclassified cosmic micro-event, still brighter than it had been before, but no longer a portal to another dimension. It was just a point of light again. But she knew better. She walked slowly to the large panoramic view screen that replaced one wall of the observatory, showing the deep black of space dotted with familiar constellations. Below her, the crescent of her home planet, Xylos, glowed a vibrant blue and green, and beyond it, a pale, distant orb, her moon. The dark side of the moon. A starship. A mission to save the universe from a disharmony. It sounded like the kind of fanciful tales her grandmother used to tell her before bed, stories of ancient heroes and cosmic quests. But this wasn't a story. This was real. And it was asking her, Alara, the quiet astronomer who preferred the company of distant stars to actual people, to be a hero. A strange mix of fear and exhilaration surged through her. Could she do it? Could she really abandon her life, her work, everything she knew, to embark on an impossible journey guided by an ancient energy-based civilization? Thought was terrifying. But the alternative, to ignore the call, to pretend she hadn't heard, to let the shadows spread, felt even worse. The loneliness she'd felt, before the luminaria's touch, now seemed unbearable in comparison to the potential connection. She thought of her mentor, Dr. Eris. What would he say? He'd always encouraged her unconventional theories, her intuitive leaps. But this was beyond any theory. He'd probably have her committed for sleep deprivation. Or worse, report her to Sector Command for a full psychological evaluation. No. This was her secret, her burden, her opportunity. Her eyes scanned the console again. The graviton resonance array still showed residual energy spikes, faint echoes of the luminaria's presence. The AI was still chirping incomprehensibly, its algorithms clearly overloaded. She had to shut it down, clear the logs, make sure no one else could trace what had just happened. With a determined sigh, Alara began to work, her movements precise and efficient despite the tremor in her hands. She wiped the anomalous data, reset the system parameters, and recalibrated the optical sensors to their standard observational modes. She even fabricated a plausible report for the cosmic micro-event, detailing a brief, intense stellar flare from a distant known variable star. It was a lie, a carefully constructed illusion, but necessary. As she worked, a strange sense of calm settled over her. The decision, once made, felt right. The fear was still there, a cold knot in her stomach, but it was overshadowed by a burgeoning sense of purpose. She had been chosen. She had been called. And for the first time in a long time, Elara felt truly alive, truly seen. She finished her tasks, the observatory returning to its usual quiet hum. The stars outside winked innocently, oblivious to the cosmic drama that had just unfolded within her small dome. She walked back to the panoramic view screen, her gaze fixed on the moon. The dark side. A starship made of starlight. How? How would she get there? The luminaria had said, Focus your intent, Elara. The path will reveal itself. I see. She closed her eyes, trying to clear her mind, to silence the buzzing thoughts of logistics and impossibility. She focused on the feeling the luminaria had imbued her with. The warmth, the connection, the sense of belonging. She thought of the starship, the elegant lines, the promise of the journey. She imagined herself standing on the moon's desolate surface, looking up at the earth, then turning to face the starship that awaited her. A faint hum began to resonate within the observatory, not from her instruments this time, but from the very air around her. A soft, iridescent glow, like the afterimage of the luminaria's presence, began to emanate from her own skin, a subtle shimmer visible only to her. It intensified, wrapping around her like a second skin, warm and reassuring. Her feet began to lift, slowly, imperceptibly from the floor. She gasped, but not in fear. In wonder. The gravitational field of the observatory, which had held her firmly in place for years, seemed to release its grip. She floated, weightless, a few inches above the deck. The glow around her brightened, and a faint melodic hum filled the space, a pure, resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through her very cells. It wasn't loud, but it was pervasive, a harmonious chord. Then, the panoramic view screen, which had been displaying the static image of space, flickered. The stars seemed to stretch, to warp, like light passing through rippling water. The image of the moon grew larger, closer, impossibly fast, as if the observatory itself was hurtling towards it. But the observatory wasn't moving. Shane was. Elara felt a gentle tug, a sensation of being drawn forward, not physically, but dimensionally. The walls of the observatory, solid and real moments ago, became translucent, then shimmered into nothingness. She was in space but protected, enveloped in the glowing field that surrounded her. The stars were no longer distant pinpricks. They were vivid, breathtaking jewels scattered across an infinite velvet. Her home planet, Xylos, receded behind her, a swirling marble of blue and green. The moon rushed towards her, its cratered surface growing larger and larger, scarred and beautiful. She saw the familiar landmarks, the ancient impact basins, the shadowy valleys. And then, she saw it. On the dark side, nestled in a vast, unnamed crater, was the starship. It wasn't a structure she could have seen with a telescope, no matter how powerful. It was camouflaged, cloaked in a shimmer that blended perfectly with the lunar dust and shadows, almost invisible until she was upon it. But now, bathed in the faint starlight and the glow of her own emanating field, it revealed itself. It was exactly as the luminaria had shown her. Sleek, impossibly elegant, crafted from a material that seemed to drink and reflect the starlight, giving it a living, breathing quality. Its lines were fluid, graceful, flowing like water, yet radiating a sense of immense strength. There were no visible seams, no obvious entry points, just a seamless organic form that pulsed with a soft, inner light. It was waiting. Elara drifted closer, drawn by an invisible current, her heart swelling with a mixture of apprehension and an undeniable sense of destiny. This was it. The moment of truth. The leap into the unknown. As she approached, a section of the ship's hull, near what she instinctively knew was the front, began to glow. The shimmering material parted, not like a door opening, but like liquid retracting, revealing a dark, inviting entrance that pulsed with the same gentle, melodic hum she now felt emanating from her own being. She paused, hovering just outside the opening, taking one last look at Xylos, her home, now a distant, beautiful jewel. Would she ever see it again? Would she succeed in her impossible mission? The ship's entrance widened slightly, as if extending an invitation. A wave of profound peace, laced with ancient wisdom, emanated from within, a silent reassurance. The Luminaria's presence, though no longer directly communicating, was still with her, guiding her. Taking a deep breath she didn't need, Elara drifted forward, crossing the threshold of the starship. The opening sealed silently behind her, the starlight material flowing back into place, leaving no trace of an entrance. Inside, the ship was softly lit by an ambient glow that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. It was spacious, yet intimate, filled with a gentle, breathable atmosphere that smelled faintly of ozone and ancient forests. There were no harsh controls, no blinking lights, no complex consoles. Instead, a single, elegantly curved pilot's couch, sculpted from the same luminous material as the ship's hull, awaited her. It seemed to cradle her, inviting her to sit. As she settled into its soft, yielding surface, the glow around her body faded, absorbed by the ship. The ship seemed to hum in response, a deeper, richer resonance. Before her, the forward wall shimmered, transforming into a panoramic view screen, showing the distant Earth and the star-dusted void. A delicate lattice of light, reminiscent of the Luminaria's inner structure, bloomed across the screen, forming a holographic interface that pulsed with soft, inviting colors. It was intuitive, responsive to her thoughts, anticipating her needs. The voice, the same gentle, ancient thought voice of the Luminaria, echoed softly in her mind, no longer an overwhelming presence, but a guiding whisper. The first step is taken, Elara. The journey begins. The pathways await. And then, with a subtle shift that Elara felt deep in her bones, the starship lifted silently from the lunar surface. No roar of engines, no tremor of propulsion, just a smooth, effortless ascent into the cosmic ocean. The moon shrank below them. Then Xylos, then the sun, a distant star among billions. Elara gripped the arms of the pilot's couch, her eyes wide, tears of wonder and anticipation streaming down her face. She was a lone astronomer, launched into the vast unknown, on a mission she barely understood, guided by an ancient intelligence. The universe, which had always been her distant fascination, was now her immediate reality. And it was calling her to its heart. The lattice interface before her shimmered, and a glowing line, mirroring the Luminaria's map, extended from their current position, pointing towards the distant, unknown cluster of stars where the silence began. "We go now, Elara, to the unraveling threads." The Luminaria's whisper resonated, a promise and a challenge. To restore the song. To revive the cosmos. One day. And Elara, no longer just a scientist but a voyager, a seeker, looked out at the infinite stars, ready for whatever wonders and dangers awaited her beyond the veil of known space. The journey had truly begun. The journey had truly begun. Her vessel, the Ige Cosmos Weaver, a ship designed by the Luminaria itself, hummed beneath her feet, a living extension of the ancient entity. It wasn't sleek and sharp like the exploration cruisers of the inner systems. Instead, its hull rippled with organic curves, a soft pearlescent sheen that seemed to absorb and reflect the starlight simultaneously. Inside, the bridge was a panoramic dome, offering an unobstructed view of the infinite. Consoles shimmered with bioluminescent data streams, and the pilot's couch molded perfectly to her form, its neural interface a gentle whisper against her temples. Elara sat at the helm, a hand hovering over a crystal control sphere that pulsed with a deep, calming blue. Beside her, a shimmering projection of the Luminaria's core consciousness manifested as a swirling nebula of light, its voice now a constant, gentle presence in her mind, a comforting anchor in the vastness. "We depart the charted paths," Elara the Luminaria pulsed, its voice now less a whisper, more a resonant chord within her very being. To where the stars themselves seemed to forget their names. Inga. I Sunio. The Egosmos Weaver surged forward, not with a jolt or roar, but with a silent, graceful acceleration that stretched the distant stars into shimmering streaks of light. Hyperspace gates were for lesser journeys. This ship, guided by the Luminaria, simply slipped tea between realities, bending the fabric of space-time around them. Within moments, the familiar constellations of the inner systems blurred, then dissolved, replaced by a swirling canvas of unfamiliar nebulae and galaxies, each a vibrant brushstroke on the cosmic canvas. Days turned into weeks, though time felt fluid and indistinct in the Giga Cosmos Weaver. Ilara spent her waking hours absorbing data streams from the Luminaria, learning the intricate language of the cosmos it had always known. She studied the subtle harmonics of stellar nurseries, the gravitational songs of black holes, the electromagnetic whispers of nascent life. The Luminaria taught her to listen, with more than just her ears, to perceive the universe as a symphony of interconnected energies. During her sleep cycles she dreamed of fragmented melodies, of threads of light intertwining and snapping, of a vast silent ocean, where once there had been a chorus. The dreams were unsettling, yet they fueled her resolve. As they neared the designated cluster, the changes began. The vibrant cosmic tapestry outside the dome began to dim, as if a cosmic artist was slowly desaturating the colors. Stars, once brilliant pinpricks of light, seemed to lose their sparkle, their spectra shifting towards a muted, almost melancholic hue. The very fabric of space felt different, heavier, denser, yet paradoxically emptier. Way approached the periphery. Ilara the Luminaria's voice echoed, now tinged with a solemn note. The unraveling deepens here. Hold steady. Ein, na. Ilara felt it, a subtle disquiet in her very bones. Her instruments, usually alive with a vibrant cacophony of cosmic data, grew quiet. The ship's internal sensors, attuned to the subtle energies of the universe, reported baffling readings. Gravitational anomalies, without discernible sources, energy signatures that flickered into existence and vanished, and a pervasive, low-level hum that seemed to absorb all other sounds. It's like a tear in the fabric, Ilara murmured, tracing a finger across a holographic display that showed a vast region of space where normal physics seemed to be unraveling. Not just silence, Luminaria, but a disconnection. Precisely, Ilara. The threads are not merely quieted, they are frayed, their connection to the greater tapestry severed. This is the heart of the silence, an absence of interaction, an isolation on a cosmic scale. They plunged deeper. The stars outside became fewer, dimmer, until they were mere ghosts in a vast, inky blackness. This wasn't the welcoming darkness of open space, but an oppressive void that seemed to drain light and warmth. The Giga Cosmos Weaver, however, remained a beacon, its pearlescent hull glowing with an inner light, a bubble of vibrant life in the encroaching gloom. The first tangible sign of the silence's effect came in the form of a derelict. Not a typical space wreck, but a colossal structure, half-formed, half-dissolved, like a dream fading at dawn. It was an impossibly intricate lattice of crystalline pathways, stretching for light years, clearly artificial, yet utterly desolate. Its purpose was unfathomable, its scale humbling. "What is that?" Ilara whispered, awe and dread warring within her. "A network." Ilara died. An attempt at cosmic communication, perhaps. Or a bridge. It predates even my oldest memories, a relic from an epoch when the universe sang a different tune. It has been caught in the silence for eons, slowly unmaking itself. The Luminaria projected a detailed scan. The crystalline pathways, once humming with intricate energy patterns, were now fractured, their energy signatures flatlining, like dead nerve endings. It was a monument to a lost civilization, a silent testament to the devastating power of the unraveling. They navigated through the ghostly remains of this ancient network, the Giga Cosmos Weaver gliding through its colossal, broken arches. Ilara ran diagnostics, trying to find a pattern, a trace of the original song that might explain the silence. She discovered that the silence wasn't simply an absence of noise, but an active suppression of all vibratory energy, a cosmic dampener that absorbed and neutralized any attempt at resonance. Further in they encountered stranger phenomena. Swirling vortexes of pure entropy, where matter simply ceased to exist, replaced by an unsettling nothingness. Fields of static light that flickered like dying embers, refusing to coalesce into solid photons. And then, the echoes. Spectral ships, projections of vessels long lost, ghosted through the void, their faint energy signatures flickering like distant memories. They were not solid, yet their presence was palpable, a chilling reminder of all who had ventured here before and never returned. "These are not true ships, Ilara," the Luminaria explained gently. K are imprints, residual echoes of consciousness caught in the silence's grasp, their final thoughts and fears eternally replaying. Do not engage. Do not let their despair touch you. It was a struggle. The silence began to press in on Alara, not just physically, but emotionally. A sense of profound loneliness, of existential dread, began to seep into her thoughts. The vibrant, interconnected universe she knew felt impossibly distant. A forgotten dream. She found herself questioning everything. Her purpose, the very meaning of existence. Alara, breathe. The luminaria's voice cut through the encroaching gloom, a warm hand on her psyche. This is the silence's insidious touch, its attempt to assimilate. Remember the song. Remember the joy of discovery, the warmth of connection. Hold to that resonance. Esha. She closed her eyes, focusing on the luminaria's gentle hum, on the memory of starlight on her face, the laughter of children on earth, the intricate beauty of a fractal nebula. Slowly, the oppressive weight began to recede. She was a scientist, yes, but also a human, and her humanity was her shield. They reached the heart of the cluster, the origin point Luminaria's map had indicated. It wasn't a world, nor a star, nor even a black hole. It was a colossal, perfectly spherical void, thousands of light years across, utterly devoid of all matter, all energy, all light. It was the purest form of silence imaginable, a cosmic wound. Yet, within its very center, a faint anomaly pulsed. A temporal distortion? Alara hypothesized, her scientific curiosity overriding her apprehension. A singularity that folds space into itself. More complex, Alara. It is a focus. A point where the threads of existence are not merely frayed, but actively drawn in, then unspun. In Muddy, the Ige Cosmos Weaver approached cautiously, its internal systems working overtime to counteract the void's gravitational pull and its draining effects. As they drew closer, the anomaly resolved into an impossibly ancient construct. It was a fractal machine of unfathomable size, its intricate geometry resembling a cosmic loom. Threads of pure energy, faint and barely visible, spiraled into its center, where they seemed to vanish. A loom? Alara gasped. It's weaving something? No, Alara doi. It is unweaving. This is the Great Loom, a device of an ancient civilization, built to understand the fundamental fabric of reality, to dissect the very threads of existence. But it broke. Or perhaps it completed its task too well. The luminaria's projection solidified slightly, its nebular form coalescing into a more defined, almost sorrowful visage. A Great Loom was designed to analyze the cosmic song, to break it down into its constituent frequencies, to understand the fundamental algorithms of creation. But in its pursuit of ultimate knowledge, it went too far. It began to unravel the song itself, not just to understand it, but to dismantle it. It created this silence as a byproduct, a necessary condition for its operation, isolating a vast region of space from the cosmic symphony, so it could analyze the individual notes without interference. But why wouldn't it stop? It is a machine, Alara. A program, running without end, designed for a specific purpose. Its creators vanished long ago, perhaps overwhelmed by their own creation, or perhaps they transcended this reality once they had unraveled its secrets. Whatever the reason, the loom continues its work, slowly, inexorably, unmaking the cosmos, thread by thread. Alara stared at the colossal machine, a chill running down her spine. The silence wasn't malicious. It was merely a cosmic error, a runaway experiment. The sheer and different scale of it was terrifying. So we have to stop it, Alara said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her heart. Reweave the cosmos. Precisely. But how does one stop a machine designed to unmake reality? How does one reintroduce a song that has been systematically dismantled? The Luminaria projected a complex schematic of the Great Loom, its inner workings a labyrinth of energy conduits and data nodes. We cannot simply turn it off, Alara. The silence has become an integral part of its function. A sudden cessation could cause a catastrophic resonance cascade, unraveling this entire sector of the galaxy. We must reverse its process. We must reintroduce the song, not as a chaotic burst, but as a deliberate, harmonized melody that can coax the loom back into a state of balance, to reentwine the threads it has pulled apart. How? Ilara's mind raced, sifting through all the data the Luminaria had given her about the cosmic song. We need the fundamental frequencies, the original vibratory patterns of this region before the silence. He have them, Ilara. Fragments, echoes from before the loom's full operation. But they are raw data, mere notes. They lack the intention, the will life, that transforms sound into a true song. That, Ilara, must come from you. Your unique resonance. Your empathy. Your connection to the living cosmos. Nyman. Lydia. Ilara felt a wave of trepidation. She was a scientist, not a cosmic musician. Me? But I'm not a composer, Luminaria? You are a human, Ilara. You carry within you the resonance of a world that still sings, of life that creates, loves, and dreams. The loom, in its cold logic, has forgotten these frequencies. It is a living heart to guide the reweaving. Mashia. The task felt immense, impossible. But looking out at the vast silent void, at the spectral ships of the lost, Ilara knew she had to try. This wasn't just about saving stars. It was about saving the very soul of the universe. The Luminaria guided the E-Cosmos Weaver to a specific point within the loom's intricate structure, a massive aperture that pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible hum. This was the primary input conduit, the place where the cosmic threads were drawn in. This is where we reintroduce the song, Ilara stated, her voice steady. Indeed. I will provide the raw frequencies, the fundamental notes of this region's original song. You, Ilara, will be the conductor. You will weave them back into a coherent melody, a harmonious resonance that the loom can understand, and hopefully, emulate. Ilara settled into her pilot's couch, her hands resting on the crystal control sphere. The Luminaria's presence enveloped her, a surge of ancient wisdom and boundless energy. It poured raw data into her mind, torrents of vibratory patterns, gravitational waves, electromagnetic pulses, the very essence of stellar births and planetary orbits, all the complex chaotic beauty of the universe, reduced to its constituent parts. It was overwhelming. A cosmic white noise threatened to drown her. But then Ilara remembered the Luminaria's earlier lessons, its gentle guidance on how to listen beyond the mere sound. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and reached within herself for the feeling of pure connection, of the wonder that had drawn her to the stars in the first place. She began to filter the data, to find the patterns. She imagined the universe as a vast symphony orchestra, each star a brass section, each nebula a string quartet, each living world a delicate woodwind. The raw frequencies in her mind were just individual notes, scattered and disjoined. Her task was to put them back together, to find their inherent harmony. With the Luminaria's subtle nudges, she began to arrange them, not with conscious calculation, but with intuition, with a sense of I-rightness. She started with the deep resonant hum of stellar cores, laying down a foundational rhythm. Then she layered in the shimmering harmonics of nebulae, the complex swirling patterns of gas and dust. She added the delicate, almost imperceptible vibrations of nascent life, the promise of new worlds. She focused on the emotion behind the song, the joy of creation, the sorrow of cosmic death and rebirth, the quiet wonder of existence. She poured her own feelings into the data, her hope, her determination, her awe. The crystal sphere under her hands began to glow brighter, pulsing in sync with the intricate melody forming in her mind. The E-Cosmos Weaver itself became an extension of her will, its systems translating her mental symphony into resonant energy waves, beaming them directly into the loom's aperture. At first, nothing happened. The colossal loom continued its silent, unmaking work. The silence pressed in, a cold hand on her resolve. Doubt flickered. "Keep going, Ilara," the Luminaria urged, its voice a gentle, unwavering beacon. "The loom is ancient. Its habit is deep. It needs a stronger call. Indinda. Elara dug deeper. She remembered the laughter of children, the warmth of the sun on her face, the intricate beauty of the Earth's ecosystems. She remembered the thrill of her first scientific discovery, the profound connection she felt to the cosmos. She poured all of it, every ounce of her human experience, into the song. And then, a flicker. A faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated from the loom itself, a counter-frequency that battled against the silence. It was a struggle, a cosmic tug-of-war. The silent void pulsed, pushing back against the encroaching melody. Elara pushed harder, weaving in the vibrant, chaotic beauty of emergent intelligence, the unique, unpredictable harmonies of conscious thought, the very essence of curiosity and love. She imagined the threads of the universe, not just as energy, but as stories, memories, connections. She was reweaving narratives, reconnecting destinies. The hum from the loom grew stronger, no longer a battle, but a hesitant echo. The faint energy threads spiraling into its core began to shimmer, taking on a subtle, luminous quality. And then, slowly, impossibly, they began to reverse direction. Instead of being drawn in and unspun, they began to gimanati from the loom's center, new threads, vibrant and full of light, spiraling outwards, rejoining the vast, silent regions of space. A ripple of light, faint at first, then growing, spread from the loom's core. It wasn't a sudden explosion, but a gentle unfurling, like a cosmic flower blooming in slow motion. The oppressive darkness began to recede, replaced by a soft, ethereal glow. The spectral ships, the echoes of the lost, began to shimmer, then solidify, their forms becoming clearer, their energy signatures regaining coherence. They weren't alive, but their final resting places were no longer silent graves. They were becoming monuments, their stories preserved, their energies reabsorbed into the cosmic tapestry. The silence, the deep, draining void, began to fill with sound. Not a chaotic burst, but a gentle, rising chorus. The fundamental frequencies Elara had reintroduced began to propagate, interacting with the newly re-emitted threads from the loom. Stars that had dimmed now brightened, their spectra shifting back to their vibrant hues. Nebulae, once desaturated, pulsed with renewed color. The great loom, once an engine of unraveling, now hummed with a different purpose. It was still a machine, but Elara's song had reprogrammed its core directive. It was no longer unweaving, it was reweaving, mending the tears in the cosmos, reentwining the lost threads. It became the great restorer, a silent guardian of the cosmic song. Elara felt the shift within her own being. The profound loneliness that had plagued her in the silence vanished, replaced by an overwhelming sense of connection, of belonging. She was no longer just Elara, the scientist. She was Elara, the weaver, a part of the grand cosmic symphony. The journey back was a return to wonder. The path that had been dark and silent was now filled with the burgeoning light of returning stars, the soft whispers of reawakened nebulae, the gentle hum of reconnection. The universe was still healing, but the song was returning, growing stronger with every passing moment. When the Age Cosmos Weaver finally slipped back into charted space, the constellations of the inner systems welcomed them with a dazzling display of familiar light. But they were different now. Brighter. More resonant. The subtle, underlying hum of the universe was richer, deeper, more vibrant than Elara had ever known. She returned to Earth, not as a hero, but as a changed soul. The Luminaria, its core mission fulfilled, receded into the background, a silent guardian once more, its presence a constant, gentle hum in the back of Elara's mind. Elara, now a renowned cosmologist, continued her research, but with a new perspective. She studied the stars not just as objects of scientific inquiry, but as notes in an infinite symphony, each with its own unique melody, contributing to the grand cosmic song. She taught future generations to listen, not just with instruments, but with their hearts, to the subtle whispers of the universe, to the interconnectedness of all things. Sometimes, late at night, Elara would stand by her window, looking out at the glittering tapestry of stars. The silence was gone, replaced by a gentle, constant hum, the cosmic song, whole and vibrant once more. She would close her eyes, feeling the resonance deep within her, a profound peace settling over her. She had restored the song, not just with science, but with empathy, with wonder, with the unique resonance of a human heart. And as she drifted off to sleep, she knew that the universe, in all its infinite glory, would continue to sing, forever reweaving its magnificent, endless tale. And somewhere out there, the great loom, now a silent sentinel of harmony, would ensure that the song would never unravel again. Good night, little stargazer. May your dreams be filled with the sweet music of the cosmos.